We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone.
I think there are really two fundamental paths. History is going to bifurcate along two directions. One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. I don't have an immediate doomsday prophecy, but eventually history suggests there will be some doomsday event. The alternative is to become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species, which I hope you would agree that is the right way to go.
Atlas TU has gone to closed-loop control.
Hello, greetings. I am Professor Jun Cajigal, and I would like to welcome everybody to this virtual lecture entitled The Secrets of Mars, Episode 2, Man's Exploration of Mars. Now, in Episode 1, we have tackled man's fascination for the red planet. Now, to help us review the items in Episode 1, we will be having a simple, easy pop quiz. Isn't that exciting? So I'll be giving you 3 easy questions related to episode 1, and just type in your answers, message us, so that we would know whether you have recalled some of the items mentioned in episode 1. Okay, and we will reveal the answers later during the question and answer portion of this virtual lecture. All right, so are you ready for the 3 easy questions? All right, so here is question number 1. Okay, question number 1. What is the largest volcano on Mars, which is also the largest in the solar system? Okay, just type in your answers, message us, so that we would know whether you have recalled what is the largest volcano on Mars. In fact, this volcano is even 3 times higher than Mount Everest. Okay? Alright, so if you're done, let's proceed now to the next question. Question number 2. Ready? Okay, what is the largest canyon system on Mars? What is the largest canyon system on Mars? So please type in your answers, message us, so that we would know if you have recalled what is the largest canyon system on Mars. In fact, this canyon system stretches from California to New York. That's how extensive this canyon system is. Alright? Okay, and here is the last question. Question number 3. What is the composition of the Martian atmosphere? Okay, what is the composition of the Martian atmosphere? What is the most abundant gas that is present in the Martian atmosphere? Okay, so just type in your answers, message us so that we would know if you have recalled what is the composition of the Martian atmosphere. Okay, then we'll reveal the answers later during the question and answer portion of this virtual lecture. Alright, so my dear netizens, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation. And we will now proceed to our main agenda, which is the secrets of Mars, man's exploration of the red planet. Alright, so let us now proceed to our main agenda, man's exploration of the red planet. Now, it was the Americans who spearheaded, really, the exploration of Mars. Now, the Russians, they focused their efforts in the exploration of Venus with their Venera program. But the Americans, they spearheaded the study of Mars, and they launched Viking during the mid-70s. So the Viking probes of the mid-1970s carried out experiments designed to detect microorganisms in the Martian soil at their respective landing sites. So there were 2 Viking missions, Viking 1 and Viking 2. Each space probe was designed to detect the presence of any microbial life present in the Martian soil. Fantastic, isn't it? So this is Viking. Viking made a soft landing on the red planet. Okay? Amazing machine. That's Viking. And Viking has a robotic arm that can be extended in order to scoop out Martian soil for analysis. Okay, and here is a panoramic picture taken by Viking of the Martian terrain. So if you will recall, in episode 1, we have described the Martian terrain as a frozen desert. Okay? Because if you will look at the pictures taken by Viking, talagang parang desierto. right? So you can see rocks, and you will notice that the soil really is red. That's how Mars got its name, the red planet from the god of war, Roman god of war. Okay? Alright, so the soil is red because of iron oxide. Rust, kalawang po. Okay, so that's the Martian soil and the Martian terrain. Okay, again, here's a panoramic picture of the Martian terrain taken by Viking. Yeah, malamig po sa Mars. Okay, parang nasa Antarctica kayo. Okay, again, because Mars is farther from the sun as compared to Earth. So Mars is receiving less heat from the sun as compared to Earth. So talagang malamig sa Mars. And look, it's desert-like. Para po kayong pumunta sa Death Valley in the United States. And look at the soil, it's red because of iron oxide. Okay? Alright, that's Mars. And that's the Viking space probe. Okay, amazing. Fantastic. Okay, and inside Viking are instruments designed to detect the presence of any microbial life in the Martian soil. So we can say that Viking is like a robotic laboratory. Okay, para siyang laboratory which is designed to detect the presence of life, microbial life in the Martian soil. Okay, and the experiments inside Viking was actually designed by no other than this famous astronomer, Carl Sagan. Siya po talaga yung nag-design ng Martian life experiments. Okay? Alright, so that's Carl Sagan with a mock-up of Viking. Alright. Okay, and to simplify the explanation of the experiment package on board Viking, so ang Viking kasi may may robotic arm, right? So the robotic arm scoops out Martian soil, ilalagay dyan sa chamber na yan, and lalagyan po yan ng parang nutrient broth. Diba in microbiology, nutrient broth stimulates the reproduction of microbial life kasi parang pagkain niya ng mga microorganisms. So, nutrient broth is introduced. Then, pag may mga microorganisms, they will emit gases, methane, carbon dioxide. And these gases can be detected. May mga detectors po yan sa loob ng chamber to detect any gases that might be emitted. Okay, so that would be a sign that there is microbial life or some biological activity going on inside the chamber. Napakasimple lang po ng experiment. Okay? Alright, but unfortunately, Viking had inconclusive results on the presence of microbial life on Mars. So, akala nila meron na, but again, further studies would show that hindi malabo. Okay, Viking had inconclusive results on the presence of microbial life on Mars. Okay, but the Americans, hindi sila sumusuko. Okay? Right, so baka mali lang yung landing site. So, they sent more robots on the red planet. Mars is the only planet in the solar system that is inhabited. Yes. Inhabited by what? By robots. Yes, okay? So, the Americans had sent this Mars Pathfinder rover. Okay? The Martian surface. That's Pathfinder. And maliit lang yan po. Para lang yan kasing laki ng shoebox. Okay, this is Pathfinder Mars rover. Okay. All right. So another rover that was sent by the Americans, by NASA, was this Opportunity Mars rover. Okay, so medyo malaki-laki lang ho ng konti to as compared to Pathfinder. And the Opportunity had served NASA for several years, obtaining valuable information about Mars. But unfortunately, because of dust storms, dust had covered its solar panels. So, hindi na naka-charge yung Opportunity kasi natakpan po yung solar panels ng alikabok or dust. As mentioned in episode 1, Mars experiences occasional dust storms. Medyo violent din po yung Martian atmosphere with the violent dust storms. So natabunan po yung solar panels and Opportunity was unable to recharge its batteries. So namatay na lang po yung Opportunity. Okay? Right? But Opportunity was able to obtain valuable information about Mars. Okay, then the Americans sent the Curiosity Mars rover. Okay, ito mas malaki po ito ng konti as compared to Opportunity. Sinaki ito ng Volkswagen actually. And what's so amazing about Curiosity is the way it was delivered on the Martian surface, yung landing po niya. Ang galing. So, Curiosity made a soft landing on the Martian terrain using a sky crane method. Ayan po, nakita niyo po yung sky crane na yan. It was lowered gently using a sky crane method. Yan. Okay, fascinating, isn't it? Galing talaga ng NASA. Yan. Okay, so that's the Curiosity rover. And Curiosity, until now, is obtaining valuable information about the red planet. All right, so that's Curiosity. Okay. All right, so here is a comparison in terms of size between Pathfinder, Sojourner, then we have Spirit Opportunity in 2004, and we have the Curiosity rover in 2012. Ayan, so malit lang yung Pathfinder Sojourner. Then, mas malaki konti yung Opportunity. And mas malaki yung Curiosity. Okay? Ayan, so may mga tao na. You can see now, you can compare the sizes. Ayan, yung Curiosity. If you will notice, yan, kasi laki, parang kotse na po yan. Alright? Amazing, isn't it? Okay? Alright, and the Americans really had spearheaded the sending of robotic rovers on Mars. But the Europeans also sent this Mars rover, ExoMars rover, in 2017. ESA, or the European Space Agency, had sent the ExoMars rover in 2017, and it was designed to search for signs of life on the Martian terrain. Okay, ESA, for the European Space Agency. Okay, ang counterpart niyan is NASA. Alright, so that's the ExoMars rover. And the latest Mars rover 2020 is the Perseverance rover. Ito, very interesting po ito, ladies and gentlemen, this Perseverance rover. Okay, so para siyang Curiosity. Okay, in terms of size, design, but there are added instruments on board Perseverance. Ito, kakaiba po itong rover na to. Very interesting po siya. Okay? Alright, so we have several instrument packages, including a helicopter, the so-called Ingenuity helicopter. This will be now the first heavier-than-air flying machine on another world. Okay? Amazing. Ayan. But let's talk about first the instrument packages on board Perseverance. So one very interesting instrument inside Perseverance is MOXIE. Okay, MOXIE. Or Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment. Okay, mahaba. Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment or MOXIE. Okay, what is MOXIE anyway? What does it do? So NASA is preparing for human exploration of Mars. And MOXIE will demonstrate a way that future explorers might produce oxygen from carbon dioxide in the Martian atmosphere. Now, we know in episode 1 that the Martian atmosphere is composed mostly of carbon dioxide. Okay? So this instrument, MOXIE, will utilize that carbon dioxide and will convert it into oxygen. Okay? For future human exploration of the red planet. See? Fantastic! Galing! So there is now an instrument like MOXIE that will use that carbon dioxide in the Martian atmosphere and convert it into oxygen. Okay? Kasi yun ang kailangan in exploring Mars. Human exploration, you need oxygen, di ba? Okay, and mahirap naman pag limited yung oxygen supply. We have to generate oxygen on the Martian terrain. And this is an instrument that will generate oxygen using carbon dioxide in the Martian atmosphere. Ang galing. Di ba? Parang photosynthesis. Parang halaman. Yeah, we know that plants, they absorb carbon dioxide and through photosynthesis, one of the byproducts of photosynthesis is oxygen. So ang MOXIE parang ano yan, parang it's like a photosynthetic machine. Galing. Okay, that's Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, better known as MOXIE. Amazing piece of technology. Ito yung kailangan natin in the exploration of Mars. Now, another interesting instrument on board Perseverance rover is RIMFAX. Now, what is RIMFAX? RIMFAX stands for Radar Imager for Mars Subsurface Experiment. RIMFAX. Now, this instrument uses radar waves to penetrate the ground under the rover. So, something like a ground-penetrating radar. Now, the radar signals returned to RIMFAX look a little like sonogram. So, yung signals na bumabalik po sa instrument, para siyang ultrasound. Para siyang ultrasound. If you're familiar with the images produced by an ultrasound machine. Okay, now, the images produced by RIMFAX would show structures under the Martian surface. The radar signals change depending on what materials are present underground, such as what? Ice, rocks, sand, and possibly liquid water. Okay? Because in episode 1, if you will recall, in episode 1, most of the water on Mars is locked in the polar ice caps. But water doesn't exist in liquid form on Mars. The water is solid ice because Mars is really cold. Now, there's a possibility that water might be underneath the Martian surface. And that's the objective of RIMFAX, to search for water underneath the Martian surface. using ground penetrating radar or RIMFAX. Because we know that if there's water, there might be what? There might be microbial life on the planet Mars. Amazing, isn't it? Now, another interesting instrument on board the Perseverance rover is the so-called Ingenuity helicopter. Okay, so on board Perseverance is this unique piece of flying machine. Okay, the Ingenuity helicopter. Okay, but again, there are problems with heavier than air flying machines on the planet Mars. Now, we have to consider the fact that the Martian atmosphere is thin. Okay? So, baka hindi kumagat po yung rotors dun sa hangin and hindi makalipad po yung helicopter. So, if you will notice that the rotors, there are two rotors that move in opposite direction so that it can really catch the air for flight. And magaan lang po yan. The Ingenuity helicopter is lightweight. Okay? Yan, para makalipad. Sana po makalipad yan, yung Ingenuity helicopter. Okay? In spite of the fact that the Martian atmosphere is really thin. Okay? This is a very interesting piece of machine. So, titigan natin kung makakalipad po talaga siya. We will look forward to that. Okay? The Ingenuity helicopter. Okay? And Perseverance is on its way to Mars. Okay? It would take about 7 months, okay, for the Perseverance to reach the red planet. So, Perseverance was launched, I think, in July. So, magbilang po tayo ng 7 months. So, that's about February of next year. So, we will look forward to that. Okay, the Perseverance reaching Mars next year, February of next year. Okay? Amazing. That's the Perseverance rover. Okay, so, would you like to go to Mars, ladies and gentlemen? Really? Would you like to go to Mars? If you will ask me, yes, I would like to go to Mars. Now, why? Bakit? Alright, beyond Earth, Mars is one of the only places in the solar system where humans could one day live. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mars is one of the only places in the solar system where humans could live. So we can colonize the red planet someday. Okay? Alright, so there are several members of the solar system that we can colonize, like Europa. If we can withstand the temperature, why not? Europa. Or Titan. Or Enceladus. Alright? So Mars is one of the only places in the solar system where humans could one day live. Okay? Alright, so the question now is, how do we get to Mars? Paano tayo pupunta sa red planet? Okay, so NASA will need to address a few critical issues before a journey to Mars can hope to get underway. So we need to solve a few critical issues before we could send a manned mission to Mars. Now, the first issue that NASA must address would be the Mars crew. Who gets to go to Mars? Okay? Now, today, to be considered for an astronaut position, kung gusto niyo maging astronaut, the applicant must meet the following basic requirements. Ito, basic pa lang ito. So, you should qualify for these basic requirements. Okay, so if you want to become an astronaut someday, Mars astronaut, you should meet the following qualifications. Number one, you should have a bachelor's degree in engineering, in the biological sciences, physical sciences, computer science, or mathematics. So STEM. So if you're a STEM student, wow, swerte mo. Okay? So you can now become a Mars astronaut someday, okay, by meeting this basic requirement, a bachelor's degree in engineering, biological sciences, physical sciences, computer sciences, or mathematics. Okay, second requirement to become a Mars astronaut, you should at least have 3 years or related professional experience obtained after degree completion, or at least 1,000 hours pilot in command time on a jet aircraft. So, dapat meron kayong aircraft training at least. Okay? Alright, so third basic requirement, the ability to pass NASA's long duration astronaut physical exam. Okay, so may physical exam pa ho yan. Distant and near visual acuity must be correctable to 20/20 for each eye. The use of glasses is acceptable. So at least dapat may 20/20 vision kayo. But again, if you're wearing glasses, okay lang yan. So, pwede ako. Alright. Alright, so pwede ko na. Pasado na ako sa requirement na yan. Even though I'm wearing glasses. But it's ideally dapat 20/20 vision po kayo. Okay, so and you must pass the physical exam. Alright. Number 4, astronaut candidates must also have skills in leadership, teamwork, and communication. Dapat team player kayo. Okay, and you should have this leadership and communication skills. Okay, to become a Mars astronaut. Alright, the astronauts who will visit the red planet must be intelligent, creative, psychologically stable, and physically healthy. Ayan, so kailangan po yan. Alright. Should the first Mars mission be all women? Pwede ba mga babae pumunta sa Mars? Why not? Okay? Pwede. Pwede yung women sa Mars. Alright? Okay. What about the astronaut selection process? Now, in spaceflight missions, the primary personal attributes of a successful Mars astronaut are what? Emotional and psychological stability, supported by personal drive and motivation. Yan po ang kailangan. So what are the 5 key characteristics of a Mars astronaut? So number 1, resiliency. You have the can-do attitude. Kaya ko yan. Yan, resiliency. Number 2, adaptability. Can adapt to situations and individuals while taking into account the context of the situation. So a Mars astronaut must be able to adapt to any situations. All right. Number 3, curiosity. Can ask questions to understand, not to simply get the answers. Dapat curious yung astronaut. Number 4, the ability to trust. Can trust himself and maintain trust in others. Okay, and number 5, creativity and resourcefulness. Okay, flexible in any circumstances or any problems that might be encountered. The Mars astronaut must be creative and resourceful. Okay, so these qualities are essential upon a Mars mission where human lives are at risk with each flight. Alright, so is there an age limit for a Mars astronaut? Wow, what a very interesting question. Is there an age limit for a Mars astronaut? Now, the astronaut selection program will be open for applicants who are 18 years or older. Wow! Alright, so pwede ako. There is not an upper age limit to apply for the astronaut selection program. If the applicant enjoys good health and he or she has all the other characteristics needed for the mission, then he or she has what it takes to apply. So yun lang pong kailangan. There is not an upper age limit as long as the applicant enjoys good health and the applicant has the characteristics needed for the mission, then the applicant has what it takes to become a Mars astronaut. Wow! I'm sure baka pwede kayo. Diba? So, walang upper age limit. Wala daw po. Okay, so pwedeng-pwede po ako. Okay, so can a Mars astronaut be of a different country of origin or language? Now, NASA accepts applicants from any country in the world. Okay. And we have one candidate, Filipino po. So she's Miss Minerva Reñeses, soon to be the first Filipino astronaut. And she is a member of the Philippine Astronomical Society po. Okay, which is also, I'm also a member of the PAS, Philippine Astronomical Society. Miss Reñeses is a graduate from St. Scholastica's College in Manila. And she is a running candidate for Mars 1. Wow, so we're looking forward to that. Our first Filipino Mars astronaut. And she is also a member of the Philippine Astronomical Society. Okay? Fantastic. Alright, so that's Ms. Reñeses with one of the members of BSYA. Okay. Alright, so we need men and women like you. We need you guys. So come on! Apply na po tayo for the Mars mission crew. Okay, so that's the first issue that NASA must solve. Who gets to go to Mars? Okay? Alright, the next issue that must be addressed by NASA would be the extreme distance from the Earth. Okay? So, Mars is farther from the Sun as compared to Earth. Okay? And the only time wherein Mars is really close to Earth would be its opposition. Ayan, so you could see in the diagram, that's what you call opposition, wherein a planet is closest to another planet. Okay, so that's what you call opposition. Alright, and because of the distance of Mars from the Earth, a Mars mission would take about at least 6 to 7 months. Okay, the journey to Mars would take about 6 to 7 months. So, matagal din po yan. So, you will be in space for 6 to 7 months. And we know that space travel is quite risky. Okay, and it's dangerous. So, you have to deal with microgravity, with radiation, problems regarding oxygen and food supply, life support. So, medyo matagal po ito. Okay, the journey would take about 6 to 7 months. Okay, so that should be the trajectory of the spacecraft in its journey to Mars. Okay, so perfect timing po yan. Tina-timing po yan yung pag-launch ng spacecraft here on Earth. then yung trajectory niya and reaching Mars in about 6 to 7 months. Okay? So, what's now the effect of this issue, extreme distance from the Earth? Now, because of the extreme distance, a Mars spacecraft needs more fuel for the journey. So, kailangan ng maraming fuel. And fuel is heavy. So, you will need bigger rockets to transport it. Okay? So, with this 6 to 7 month journey to the red planet, a Mars spacecraft needs more fuel. And fuel is heavy. So, you need bigger rockets. Okay? Alright. The vast distance that you need to travel for a long time would take about, again, like what I mentioned, 6 to 7 months to reach the red planet. So what's the solution? Okay? The solution would be the Orion spacecraft. Now, NASA is now designing this Orion spacecraft, okay, on its journey to Mars. Okay, the Orion spacecraft looks like the command module of the Apollo spacecraft. Alright? So, para siyang command module. So, conical in shape siya. Yan. Meron din siyang service module, but compared to the Apollo spacecraft, the Orion is much bigger. Mas malaki po siya compared to the Apollo command module. Alright? Ayan. So, NASA is now planning a journey, a trip to Mars. And they have now designed this spacecraft, the Orion spacecraft, which is a bigger version of the Apollo spacecraft. Now, the Orion spacecraft will be carried by the Space Launch System, or SLS, Space Launch System. So that would be the rocket that would carry the Orion spacecraft. Okay, the Space Launch System. Alright, so it's bigger than the Saturn V. So medyo mas malaki ito ng konti as compared to the Saturn V. So at present, the Saturn V is the biggest rocket ever built. But NASA is planning to construct a bigger rocket that would carry the Orion spacecraft on its journey to Mars. Okay, so that's the Space Launch System. Okay? And look at the Orion spacecraft, yung command module niya. The command module looks like the Apollo command module. Pero mas malaki po siya ng konti. Alright, what about the propulsion system of the spacecraft? Now, how do we get to Mars much faster? Kasi yung 7 months, matagal po yan. And you need to solve a lot of issues like life support, yung oxygen, pagkain, the effects of microgravity. So, we need to get to Mars much faster. Dapat mas maiksi, mas madali, less than 6 months dapat. So, how do we get to Mars much faster? Okay, so one possible solution would be the use of nuclear fusion rockets. Okay, nuclear energy. Harnessing the power of nuclear fusion, the same process that fuels the sun and gives hydrogen bombs their enormous destructive potential. Okay, so the use of nuclear rockets would make such speedy trips possible. So magiging mas maiksi po yung travel time if you make use of nuclear fusion rockets. Now, ang tanong, meron na ba neto? Right, NASA was able to design a fusion engine, bubbles of plasma made from the deuterium and tritium. These are heavy isotopes of hydrogen, would be injected into a chamber where a magnetic field would collapse metal rings around them. Okay, this would briefly compress the bubbles into a fusion state, releasing a tremendous amount of energy that would vaporize and ionize the metal. Okay, so something like this, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the fusion rocket. Eh, meron na silang blueprint yan. So hopefully in the future, they can construct this, and hopefully we can use this engine for our trip to Mars. Okay, that's the fusion rocket engine. Okay, that would power the Orion spacecraft someday. Okay, on our journey to Mars. Speedy trip to Mars. Dapat less than 6 or 7 months. Dapat less than 6 months lang yung travel. So with fusion rocket technology, hopefully we can apply this to a Mars mission, and fusion rockets can speed up space travel. So we can shorten the travel time of a Mars spacecraft, hopefully less than 6 or 7 months. Okay. So another issue that must be addressed due to the extreme distance of Mars from the Earth is time delay. Now, what is the effect of time delay? Now, astronauts on Mars would need to wait over 26 minutes after sending a message or request to NASA before they could receive any kind of response. Okay, so Mars astronauts, they need to wait again because of the extreme distance of Mars from the Earth. Now, a particular radio signal coming from Mars will reach the Earth in 13 minutes and 51 seconds. So kung magpapadala po ng radio message ang mga Mars astronauts, galing sila sa Mars, magpapadala sila po ng message to mission control sa Earth, the radio signals would travel 13 minutes and 51 seconds. So mga 13 to 14 minutes for a one-way radio signal to travel from Mars to Earth. So medyo matagal po yan. Okay? Then, let's say mission control from Earth wanted to reply to the message. So magpapadala din sila ng radio signals, so from Earth to Mars. So that would take also 13 minutes or 14 minutes. So if you add that, the astronauts will wait 26 minutes for them to receive a reply from mission control. So medyo matagal po yan. Alright? So that's the scenario in terms of time delay. So from mission control, a message would reach Mars, one-way message that it would travel about 13 minutes, 12.5, 13 minutes. See? Now, a radio message from mission control to the ISS would be about 0.001 seconds only kasi malapit lang po yung ISS. But if mission control would send a message to Mars, then the radio signal would reach Mars in about 13 minutes to 14 minutes. So medyo matagal po yan. So that one-way signal message have traveled from Earth to Mars in about 12.5 minutes or 13 minutes. So that's the issue of time delay. Okay? Alright. So, because of this time delay, astronauts visiting the red planet will need to be prepared to make decisions autonomously and independently. Okay, especially when those decisions require decisive and immediate solutions. Kasi ang tagal po ng waiting time, mga 26 minutes pa ho. So, they have to make decisions on their own. Kunyari, pag may nagkasakit sa mga astronauts or pag may namatay, so they would need instructions from mission control. So they have to make decisions on their own kasi maghihintay pa sila ng 26 minutes, okay, so that they can make decisions. So by that time siguro, malala na yung sitwasyon. Alright? So astronauts, they need to be prepared to make decisions autonomously and independently. Okay, again, because of this issue of time delay. Alright? Okay. Now, another thing that they need to consider because of the extreme distance of Mars from Earth would be life support, okay, like food and water. Alright? So, this long travel from Earth to Mars means that they need to take their food with them, they need to take their water with them, and other life support systems. Alright? So, in order to avoid taking food on the journey with the astronauts, NASA will send the food to be eaten on Mars and on the return journey on a mission beforehand. So, anong ibig sabihin mo nito? So, magpapadala na po ang NASA ng pagkain bago pa dumating yung mga astronauts sa Mars. Okay, so supplies like oxygen, food, and other basic necessities must be sent to Mars before the manned mission. Okay? Yan, para maiwasan po yung pagdadala ng maraming pagkain on their journey to Mars. Kasi nga yung weight, kinoconsider po yung weight ng spacecraft. Alright? Okay. So NASA will send the food to be eaten on Mars and on the return journey on the mission beforehand. Okay. Also, NASA is considered in growing plants for food and oxygen so that they won't have to take all the oxygen too. Kasi added weight po yan. So NASA is considering growing plants for food. And they are doing that already in the International Space Station. Ginagawa na po nila yan sa International Space Station or ISS, growing plants. So they are experimenting on plant growth under microgravity. Yan, ginagawa na po nila yan sa ISS. Okay, growing plants. So pinaghahanda na nila yung future manned missions to Mars. Okay, growing plants for oxygen and growing plants for food. Galing, no? Galing. All right. And also, air and water must be filtered and recycled on that long journey to Mars. Okay, and they are doing that already in the International Space Station. So the astronauts on board the ISS are recycling their air and water. Okay? So inside the ISS is a complex filtering mechanism. Okay, wherein their urine, yung ihi ng mga astronauts, are filtered and is converted to potable water. So technically, iniinom po nila yung ihi nila. Okay? And even the air is recycled. So ganon. Because of the limited air and water in the ISS, so the life support like oxygen and water must be filtered and recycled. Alright? Now, because of the limited water, affected din po yung paligo ng mga astronauts. Alright? Limited yung tubig. Okay, unlike here on Earth, unlimited po yung paligo natin. But in the ISS and a manned mission to Mars, hindi po pwede yan. Alright? So, for example, yan, paglilinis na lang po ng buhok, di ba? Here on Earth, pag nag-shampoo po tayo, todo yung tubig, only water po. But in the ISS, hindi pwede because of the limited water supply. Right? Now, in order to clean the air, astronauts use a shampoo that is designed to stay in the hair without being washed out. So, yung shampoo nandun po sa buhok at wala na pong badlawan, okay, para makatipid sa tubig. To clean the hair, astronauts use the shampoo just like they would any other kind of shampoo. Only there is no lather and there is no rinse. So, walang bula-bula, unlike the shampoo here on earth, and wala na ring rinsing, wala nang banlawan po. Okay? So, ganyan po ang buhay in the ISS. Alright? So, can you imagine a manned mission to Mars? Alright? Okay, yan. So, look at this picture. No rinse body bath. Ayan, so maliligo sila. So, the soap stays in the body. Wala na pong lather, wala na pong rinsing. Okay, to save water. So, ganyan po sa ISS. Okay, so you can imagine also a manned mission to Mars. 6 to 7 months travel time. Biruin niyo po yun. So, paano kayo maliligo? Okay, then, pag nasa Mars na kayo, so, alang naman 2 oras kayo mag-i-stay sa Mars. So, you'd stay there about a year or months. So, paano kayo maliligo? So, experiments now are being conducted in the ISS. They are now preparing for a future manned trip to Mars. Okay? Alright, so gusto niyo pa ba maging astronaut? A Mars astronaut? Alright. Okay. So, another issue that NASA must also consider would be the effects of microgravity on the astronauts. Alright? Humans are susceptible to a wide range of physiological degradation as time in weightlessness goes on. Okay? So, anong ibig sabihin po nito? It means that there are physical effects of long duration space flight, okay, or long duration weightlessness. Alright? So, nakaka-apekto po sa katawan natin to. So, in what way? So, akala natin maganda yung weightlessness. Lumulutang po tayo like here in the ISS. Lumulutang po yung mga astronauts. Okay, but it has an effect on the human body. Prolonged weightlessness can have an adverse effect on the human body. Alright? Okay, microgravity is not beneficial. Alright? It affects bone development. Okay? So there is a decrease in bone density in microgravity. Alright? So yung calcium development po sa buto natin medyo bumabagal po in microgravity. Alright? So there is loss in bone density. So lumalambot po yung buto. Alright? So that's not good. So that's not beneficial to us. Alright? Even blood circulation. So here on Earth, because of gravity, even po yung distribution ng dugo natin. But in the ISS or in a future trip to Mars, hindi po ganyan. So the blood usually stays dun sa taas, sa head, sa upper body parts. And that's not good. Okay? So yung dugo dun dumadaan po, dun nagsisirculate sa upper body parts. Okay? So, microgravity is not beneficial. There are physiological effects, okay, of microgravity that is detrimental to the human body. So, ano yung mga remedies dito? Okay, like what they are doing in the ISS. Kasi yung mga nasa ISS, matagalan sila dun. Usually, naabot sila ng months, years, okay, under microgravity. So, what astronauts do in the ISS to alleviate bone loss is that they do exercise. So, nag-exercise po yung mga astronauts in the ISS. Alright? Yan, like in this photo, yan, yung astronaut na yan, nag-exercise at least 3 hours a day. Ayan, they do exercise to minimize bone loss. Alright? Like in the Apollo, yung mga astronauts sa Apollo, 1 week sila sa space. So pagdating nila dito sa Earth, hindi sila po makatayo. Okay? So, in the ISS, matagalan po yung stay nila dyan. They have to exercise in order to minimize bone degradation or bone loss. Okay? So, there are variety of exercise machines available in the ISS. So, can you imagine a Mars mission? So, ganyan din po yung gagawin nila. Right? So, you have to do some exercise to minimize bone loss. Okay. Now, can we produce artificial gravity? Okay. So, the answer is yes. Pwede po. Now, the spacecraft must be designed to create its own artificial gravity using centrifugal force. Okay, having a module that spins around a central point as a means of producing some form of artificial gravity. So, this was depicted in some movies. So, yung spacecraft po, umiikot siya to produce centrifugal force. Then, this centrifugal force will serve as the artificial gravity. Okay, so something like that po in the picture. So, yung spacecraft, umiikot siya and the spinning motion produces centrifugal force. So, I'm sure in basic physics, you know what centrifugal force is. Okay? So that would serve as the artificial gravity. Okay, so yung umiikot po yung spacecraft. Something like that. Alright? Okay, kasi matagalan po sa space. And we know that microgravity will affect the human body. Okay? So dapat meron tayong some form of gravity. So paikutin yung spacecraft. The spinning motion produces centrifugal force, and that would serve as the artificial gravity. Okay? Ayan, so pinapaikot po yung spacecraft. Alright, so this is depicted in some sci-fi movies. So tama po yan. Okay? Unlike sa Star Trek or sa Star Wars, di ba, nakatayo yung mga characters doon. Parang napaka-imposible because they are in outer space. So, paano yung gravity doon? So, dapat pinapaikot po yung spacecraft. Okay? So, to produce artificial gravity. Okay, here's a scene from the movie Space Odyssey. So, ito tama to po. Umiikot po yung spacecraft. So, this spinning motion produces centrifugal force, and that centrifugal force produces the artificial gravity needed by the human body. Yan, di ba? So, dapat umikot po yung spacecraft. Alright. So, another issue that must be addressed by NASA before a trip to Mars would be made possible is the issue on isolation and cramped living environments. Okay? Alright, so imagine living inside your house for 3 consecutive years without ever stepping foot outside. Okay? Or even opening a window. So parang Big Brother house, di ba? Hindi kayo pwedeng lumabas. So can you imagine, eto ngayon, yung enhanced community quarantine, di ba? Hindi tayo pwedeng lumabas. Nangyari po sa atin yan last March, April, and May. Diba? So, several months nasa loob tayo ng bahay. Di tayo pwedeng lumabas. Can you imagine po yung epekto niyan? Okay, yung mental condition po natin, di ba? Nakakabaliw po. Okay? So, can you imagine? Months lang yan, ha? Pero itong mga astronauts, see, they will spend years inside the spacecraft. So can you imagine the isolation and its effect on mental health? Diba? Okay. So ganyang buhay sa ISS. So biruin nyo yung mga astronauts sa ISS para kayo nasa bahay na nakakulong kayo doon. Alright? So, may epekto yan sa mental health. Alright? Okay, what more for a manned mission to Mars? Ang layo-layo nyo sa Earth. So can you imagine the isolation? Tsaka sa loob po ng spacecraft, di ba maliit lang yung spacecraft? Okay? Alright, so you can imagine the cramped living conditions inside the spacecraft. Okay, para kayong nasa loob ng lata. Diba? And you will be in that condition for several months or even years. I think you can imagine the effect on mental health sa mga astronauts. Okay, this isolation and cramped living conditions. Alright? So, in addition to this isolation, astronauts will be wearing the same pair of underwear for months at a time and putting on a diaper every time they go for a walk in their spacesuit. Okay? Alright, so the romantic notion of a journey to Mars begins to sound more like living in a nursery home for the elderly than exploring another world. So you can imagine po yung predicament po ng mga astronauts. So you will be wearing the same pair of underwear. Yan pa rin yung suot ninyo. Okay? So, ganyan po ang buhay ng isang astronaut sa ISS. So you can imagine yung buhay ng Mars astronaut. Okay? So, question po, gusto nyo pa ba maging astronaut? Okay? Alright, so you can imagine the isolation and the cramped living conditions inside the spacecraft. Tapos pag nasa Mars na kayo, di ba? Iisipin nyo na lang, ang layo-layo na ninyo sa Earth. Alright? So you can imagine the isolation. Alright? Another issue that must be addressed by NASA is the closed ecosystem. Okay, humans on Mars will be locked inside a closed environment for years on end. So, nasa habitat po kayo dyan. Yung astronauts nasa Mars habitat. And they will be locked inside that closed environment for years. Okay? In this situation, air quality becomes a central issue. Okay, there's always the possibility that contaminants could leak into the environment and cause adverse physiological effects if left undetected. Okay, so itong matagalan ng pag-i-stay sa loob ng spacecraft or inside a Mars habitat would eventually affect the air quality. Okay, kunya may nagkasipon na astronaut doon, di ba? So, nasa closed ecosystem kayo, nasa loob kayo ng spacecraft, or nasa loob kayo ng Mars habitat. So, yung virus doon kakalat sa hangin. Okay? So, air quality now is a central issue in a closed ecosystem. Okay? Because contaminants may leak out. Okay? Alright. So, that's an issue that must be addressed. A disclosed ecosystem. So, nangyayari po yun sa ISS. So, can you imagine sa ISS? Napakasikip nila doon. Okay? So, you can imagine yung air quality inside the ISS. You can imagine also the air quality inside a Mars habitat. Okay, you are living in a closed ecosystem. Okay, so these are photos taken from the movie The Martian. Ito naman po, Mission to Mars. Yan. So they are living in a closed ecosystem. Alright, another factor in deep space habitation is interior design. No, pati interior design. Okay, concern ng mga astronauts. So the astronauts will essentially be living inside of a laboratory for the duration of their mission. So designing a living space that's both functional and comfortable is of high priority to to their psychological well-being. So, pati yung interior design ng habitat saka ng spacecraft, kinoconsider din nila yan. Okay, for their psychological well-being. Yung mental health, kinoconsider po nila yan in that long trip to Mars. Okay, yung interior design po ng habitat, pati ng spacecraft, kinoconsider din nila yan. Alright? For their psychological well-being. Alright? So, these are photos taken from The Martian. Yan. So, ito yung interior design ng kanilang Mars habitat. Yan. Okay? So, they are considering such a design for the psychological well-being of the astronauts. If the astronauts are forced to live inside an uncomfortable environment and conduct monotonous tasks, biruin nyo, ilang buwan kayo magaganyan na paulit-ulit lang yung gagawin ninyo. Okay? Monotonous task for an extended period of time, their stress levels could spike and their performance could be compromised. Yan po. Okay? Kasi baka yung mental health nila maapektuhan, ma-stress po sila sa trabaho. So, pag na-stress po yung astronauts, that could affect their performance. Okay? So, parang tayo dito, di ba? So, if we live inside an uncomfortable environment, di ba nakaka-stress din po yan? Okay? Di ba? Alright? So, hindi maganda yung paligid. Ganyan. Pati yung mga kasalamuhan nyo, di ba? Pag makukulit or hindi nyo kasundo yung mga astronauts, tapos yung ginagawa ninyo, monotonous, paulit-ulit. Diba? So, nakakadagdag po ng stress levels yan. And that may affect the performance of the astronauts. Alright? Okay. So, ang daming problema po in a mission to Mars. So, kinoconsider po yan ng NASA. Pati interior design ng spacecraft, ng habitat, kinonsider po nila yan. Okay. Alright. So, here are some photos from the movie The Martian. Yan. Okay. Alright. Okay, another issue that must be addressed is the issue on radiation. Okay, so radiation bombarding the human body outside of the Earth's protective magnetic field can increase the risk of getting cancer. Okay, here on Earth, wala po tayong problema because our planet is surrounded by a magnetic field. And this magnetic field protect us from deadly radiation from the sun. Eh kung nasa outer space ka na, nasa labas ka na ng Earth, so you are at risk of being exposed to radiation. And this radiation can increase the risk of the astronauts getting cancer. So risky talaga ang space travel, ladies and gentlemen. So you need to wear, the astronaut must need to wear protective gear or protective spacesuits. Okay, so that they would minimize the risk of getting cancer. Alright? Now, ito may tanong. Why not place the Mars astronauts in suspended animation? Yung patutulugin sila. So, instead of them physiologically and psychologically active for 7 months in their journey to Mars. So, why not place the astronauts in suspended animation? Patutulugin sila. So, this is what you call cryonics. Yan. So, this is in the movie Passengers po. So, the astronauts were placed in suspended animation. So, pinatulog sila on their long trip in deep space. So, tipid kayo sa air, tipid kayo sa pagkain, di ba? So, placing the astronauts in suspended animation. So, is that possible? Pwede ba yan? Okay? So we are still trying to develop the technology. Okay? Because freezing the body and putting them in suspended animation may damage cells. Okay? We know that in biology, kasi pag nag-freeze po, nag-solidify po yung tubig, water molecules become crystallized. So may mga spikes po yan. And when water solidifies inside the cell, because the cell is made up mostly of water, yan, it might damage the cell wall or cell membrane. Yan, okay? So masisira yung cell, so mamamatay yung astronaut. Okay? So we are still trying to develop this technology of cryonics. Okay, hopefully we can do this in the near future, putting the astronauts in suspended animation. Okay? All right. Okay, so what about the challenges after arrival of the astronauts? Okay, so these are some of the challenges after arrival. Pag nakarating na po sila sa Mars, so they have to deal with radiation, they have to deal with the low temperatures on the Martian terrain, the low oxygen, the limited or the lack of food, or the limited or the lack of water, lack of fuel, atmospheric pressure, di ba? Kasi yung Martian atmosphere is so thin, so very little po yung atmospheric pressure. Okay, and the time delay, di ba? Maghihintay ka pa ng response from mission control. And yung habitat, yung shelter. Now, once the astronauts have arrived on the planet Mars, they will have to deal with these challenges. Again, like radiation. Now, we know that here on Earth, we are protected from harmful radiation from the sun because of the ozone layer. But on Mars, that's not the case because the Martian atmosphere has no ozone layer. And the Mars astronauts are at risk of being exposed to deadly UV rays from the sun. Okay? The astronauts will have to deal with very low temperatures, very low atmospheric pressures. Then they will have to deal with the lack of food, lack of oxygen, okay, isolation, and living in a closed ecosystem. So those are some of the many challenges that these astronauts must face once they have arrived on the planet Mars. Okay? So, tanong ko po sa inyo, my dear netizens, ladies and gentlemen, do you still want to go to Mars? Gusto niyo pa bang pumunta sa Mars? Gusto niyo pa ba maging astronaut? Okay. Alright. Now, what about growing crops? Can we grow crops on Mars? Pwede ba tayong magtanim sa planet Mars? Just like what was depicted in the movie, The Martian. So if you'll recall, Mark Watney, okay, this is Mark Watney. So naiwan po siya ng mga kasama niya. So he was technically marooned on the red planet, but fortunately, Mark Watney was a botanist. Okay, so sabi niya, hell yeah, I'm a botanist. Fear my botany powers. So ginawa ni Mark Watney, using his botany powers, nagtanim po siya ng patatas sa Mars. So is that possible? Can we grow crops on the planet Mars? Okay, so let's compare the soil here on Earth with the Martian soil. So here on Earth, ang soil po natin is composed of the following. So 50% is water and 5% you have organic matter and the remaining 45% would be mineral matter. Okay? Now, the Martian soil is composed of mostly mineral matter kasi di ba yung iron oxide, kaya nga red po yung soil. and about 2% water if there would be any water at all. Okay? So, kulang po. Kulang siya ng organic matter. Ayun pa naman po kailangan ng mga plants. Diba plants, they need organic matter as fertilizer sana. Okay? Yung tubig pwede naman diligan pero yung soil sa Mars kulang po ng organic matter. Okay? So, the soil on Mars actually does have the nutrients needed for plants to survive. Okay? They may not be the right amounts kasi mas marami po yung mineral content, yung iron oxide. They may not be the right amount of nutrients depending on where the astronauts land on the red planet. So, para maging possible po na magtanim sa Mars, fertilizers may be needed to more or less improve the condition of the soil. Okay, so fertilizers may need to be added to the Martian soil para pwede po tayo magtanim sa Mars. Alright? Okay. And this experiment now is being conducted at Utah's Mars Desert Research Station. Okay? They are now looking for the effects of temperature and atmospheric pressure on plant growth. Ayan, kasi ganun pong mangyayari sa Mars. Alright? Okay. So, pwede po. Pwede po tayong magtanim. Just we have to add fertilizers. Kasi nga kulang po yung mineral organic matter content that the plant needs in order to survive. Okay? Alright. So, that's it. That's how we explore and possibly colonize the red planet. Okay? So they say that once you have grown crops somewhere, you officially colonize the planet. So technically, Mark Watney had colonized Mars. Okay? So, in your face, Neil Armstrong. Okay, kasi si Neil Armstrong, hindi naman siya nagtanim sa buwan eh. Okay. Alright, so Mars timeline. So hopefully in the near future, 10 years, 15 years from now, we can send a manned mission to Mars. Once these issues have been dealt with, we can hopefully expect a manned mission to Mars. So yun nga yung gagawin po ng Perseverance rover. Especially po yung MOXIE. Yan. Very important po yung MOXIE. So, the conversion of carbon dioxide to oxygen. That is preparing for a manned trip to Mars. So, dapat they should generate oxygen. Alright, so I guess that's it for man's exploration of Mars. So, let's go to Mars. Gusto niyo bang pumunta sa Mars? Alright, so to end my talk, I would leave this message from Carl Sagan. So, the sky calls to us. If we do not destroy ourselves, we will one day venture into the stars. Alright? Okay, so that's our discussion for today about man's exploration of the red planet. Okay, so I hope that you have learned much about our discussion for today, man's exploration of Mars. So to all the students out there, please check out our Facebook page, the Bedan Society of Young Astronomers, for our future live stream events. Alright, please like and share this talk, and please like and share our Facebook page, the Bedan Society of Young Astronomers. And, wait, what?
Thank you for watching our live stream event. So please visit our planet someday. So this is Zarkon from the planet Mars. And this guy Professor June Cajigal, we would like to greet you. Live long and prosper and stay safe.
I think there are really two fundamental paths. History is going to bifurcate along two directions. One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. I don't have an immediate doomsday prophecy, but it's eventually, history suggests there will be some doomsday event. The alternative is to become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species, which I hope you would agree that is the right way to go.
Atlas TU has gone to closed loop control.
Okay, so thank you very much for watching this second episode of The Secrets of Mars, Man's Exploration of the Red Planet. Now, like what I have mentioned a while ago, we will be answering those three easy questions that was given at the start of the virtual lecture. So I would like to thank Sautome Junichiro. So I hope you are listening, sir. Sautome Junichiro. You were able to answer all the three questions correctly. So very good po. Maraming salamat po for your participation. And the answer for the first question, what is the largest volcano on Mars? The largest volcano on Mars is Olympus Mons. So tama po si Mr. Sautome Junichiro. Okay, that volcano Olympus Mons is so immense that it is 3 times higher than Mount Everest. Okay? So isn't that fascinating? 'Di ba? Fascinating yung Olympus Mons. Nakakabaliw po. Kung nasa Mars kayo, nakita niyo yung Olympus Mons. Really. Baka tululaway po kayo pag nakita niyo po yung Olympus Mons. Okay, now for the second question, what is the largest canyon system on Mars? Again, Sautome Junichiro was able to answer this correctly. The largest canyon system is Valles Marineris. Okay, Valles Marineris is even more extensive than our own Grand Canyon here on Earth. So walang sinabi po yung Grand Canyon natin. So pag nasa Mars kayo at nakatayo kayo dun sa Valles Marineris, mapapatululaway lang po kayo. Ganon, that's how extensive Valles Marineris is. All right? Okay, and the third question, what is the composition of the Martian atmosphere? So the Martian atmosphere is made up mostly of carbon dioxide. So the Martian atmosphere is very similar to the Venusian atmosphere. So these two planets, Venus and Mars, they share the same atmospheric composition of carbon dioxide. Ang difference po ng Venus and Mars is that the Venusian atmosphere is thick. So makapal po yung Venusian atmosphere. So that means that the atmospheric pressure on Venus is greater. It's 90 times greater than the atmosphere here on Earth. So pag nasa Venus po kayo, para kayong nasa ilalim ng dagat. Okay? But on Mars, the Martian atmosphere is so thin. Okay? Yan. So yun ang difference po ng Venusian atmosphere from the Martian atmosphere. And because of the thickness of the Venusian atmosphere, there is a runaway greenhouse effect. But the Martian atmosphere, there's no runaway greenhouse effect kasi nga po manipis po yung Martian atmosphere. Okay? Alright, so that's at Astronomy 101. So I hope marami pong nakikinig na estudyante dito, especially yung mga grade 11. So again, astronomy is actually part of earth science. So I hope yung mga grade 11 nakikinig, and please continue to watch our future live streams because I will relate this to your astronomy lessons, earth science. So before we end, I would like to thank the following people. So ito yung mga masugid po namin na nagsubaybay po for our live stream. Si Avil Nadrid, I don't know how to pronounce your surname. So NDRD. So maraming salamat. Si Jeyo si Baumbad. Mr. Dudes Perea. Yan, Dudes Perea is the founder of BSYA Alabang. Si Mr. Sautome Junichiro, maraming pasalamat for your participation dun sa ating quiz kanina. Si John Amogis. Alright, so thank you. Miss Eslyn Carbonel, Suki po. So thank you sis, maraming salamat for watching Sister Eslyn. Si Mr. Luis Baldivia. Okay, I'll be seeing you next week, si Mr. Baldivia. Then Rosario Porras, si Apple K Lumantaw. Okay, si Miss Apple K po galing pa ng Cebu yan, Cebu. So sa mga Cebuano po, thank you. Thank you for watching. Miss Apple K, maraming salamat po for watching. Mr. Albert Resio, Miss Frances Sakiton, Iha, maraming salamat. Yan, suki natin to si Miss Sakiton. Mr. Alipio, yan, isa sa mga estudyante ko yan. And si Mr. Jesse James De Jesus. Yan, suki din po yan ng BSYA. Alright, so maraming salamat for watching. Thank you, and please stay tuned. Next week, next Saturday, we will have the last installment of The Secrets of Mars. This time, we will be focusing on man's colonization of the red planet. So we will be discussing here how to colonize Mars. Diba? Interesting po yan, ladies and gentlemen. How to colonize the red planet. Okay? So please watch out for that. That's this coming Saturday. Okay? That will be the last of the trilogy. Parang Star Wars po, no? Okay, so ito yung Secrets of Mars trilogy. Okay, first episode, man's fascination of Mars. Second episode, which is now, man's exploration of the red planet. And next week, the colonization of Mars. All right? Okay, so in behalf of the officers and crew of the Bedan Society of Young Astronomers, headed by the newly elected president, Mr. G.C. Cascolan. Also, I would like to thank our tech guy, si Mr. Cruz Paculanan. Maraming salamat for this live stream. Hindi ko kaya mag-isa to. I really appreciate all your help, the officers and crew of BSYA. Again, we are promoting science education to the public. Kasi nga, di ba, itong pandemya, Naging limitado pong lahat, even public telescope viewings. So this is our way of contributing to society. Okay, giving science education to the public, especially sa mga estudyante po natin out there. Okay, and also I would like to thank the administrators of San Beda University Senior High School for your continued support of this organization. Okay? So, gusto niyo pa bang pumunta sa Mars? Alright, so we will be discussing that next week. Man's colonization of Mars. So, stay safe, everybody. And please continue to like and share our Facebook page, the Vedan Society of Young Astronomers. Also, we have a Twitter account. Meron po kaming Twitter. So please like also our Twitter account, the Vedan Society of Young Astronomers. Okay, so this is Jun Cajigal saying live long and prosper. And I will see you next week in our last installment of The Secrets of Mars, the colonization of the red planet. Stay safe, everybody.